Hi everybody and welcome to Lost Genre. Today I effed up, which are awesome stories of people making mistakes and they share them on the internet. I work for the TSA and have for a few years now. It's a good job overall, I'm underpaid but the benefits are nice and I get overtime when I want it. A little over a year ago, during the week leading up to Christmas, we had some really bad weather that delayed all the flights. I volunteered to stay late so that my co-workers could go home to their families. Most of the work was done anyways, so it was mostly just standing around waiting for the odd latecomer. I was working the AIT, the space tube thingy, when 3 passengers came up together, a middle-aged man, a middle-aged woman, and a teenage boy. I figure it's a family traveling together for the holidays and go about my work. Mom goes through, all is fine. Dad goes through, all is fine. Kid comes up, I get a good look at him. Hoodie, sweatpants, shortish hair, smooth face. I figure he's about 13, maybe 14 years old. I hit the button, direct him to wait with me for a moment, and then gesture to the screen, which lit up on his chest area. I tell him that I have to pat that area down. He's a little nervous. I figured that's because he's so young. This is probably his first time getting a pat down, but he says okay, and I start the pat down. I do the left side of the chest and feel some moob, which catches me off guard because he didn't look chubby at all. I move to the right of the chest, read what's on the hoodie, and it all clicks at once. The hoodie has the name of the local college on it. This is an adult, not a child. He's not wearing sweatpants, she is wearing yoga pants. She doesn't even know the couple that just came through. I look at her face, which is bright red. My hand is still on her boob and I pull it back like I just got bit by a snake. I immediately call for my supervisor, who comes over and asks what's wrong, and I explain the situation to her. My supervisor covers her mouth, and at first I thought she was absolutely mortified, but then I realized she's trying not to laugh. She takes a minute to pull herself together, tell me to go take a break, and finishes screening the passenger herself. Once that was done, I apologize to the passenger. She tells me it's fine, that it wasn't the first time she was mistaken for a boy, and she probably should have had said something before I started touching her. I leave her alone and go talk to my supervisor to figure out exactly how fired I am. She tells me to calm down, that it was just an honest mistake, and that she has my back if the passenger files an official complaint. But that probably won't happen, and I shouldn't be worried. That reassured me a little, but I still groped a woman and ruined Christmas, so I feel like an absolute monster. I swallow my shame and finish my shift. Then I go into the airport proper to find some food, because I just finished a 12-hour shift and there's no way I have the energy to cook dinner. I saw my hapless victim sitting at her gate, waiting for her flight. I went up to her to apologize again and saw that the flight had been delayed until morning. It was about 11 at night. I apologize again, she says it's fine, and I ask her if she's planning to stay the whole night. She says she has to, all the hotels in the area are booked. I tell her that I'm getting some dinner and offer to get her some food as well. After all, I already got to second base, I think it's only fair that I buy her dinner. She agrees and we go to one of the restaurants that is open late, get some food and start eating. She said she gets mistaken for a boy a lot and it's not a big deal. I told her about how I had long hair and no beard in college, and at the gym people would frequently walk into the men's bathroom, see me, and do a double take to make sure they didn't walk into the ladies' room. She laughed and we ended up talking for a few hours before I finally told her that I had to get home, and apologized again for the accidental molestation. She said that all is forgiven if I promise to take her on a real date when she gets back. I agreed. She gave me her phone number and I went home and immediately started texting her. We kept talking until her flight finally left, and when she got back, I picked her up at the airport. And a few days later, took her on that date that I promised her. We just celebrated our 1-year anniversary. She has long hair now. What a funny way to meet your significant other. I mean, if they're still dating, but it's still a funny story and it's pretty sweet. Putting aside the part that he did grope her, it's still a cute way, right? Alright, let's move on to the next story. My son was born with a condition called pectus excavatum. In layman's terms, his chest is sunken in. His condition was so bad that he only had 2.5 inches between his sternum and his spine, and his heart and lungs were bruised because of it. In December, he had surgery to correct it, and they put 2 nickel bars in his chest to give it space and train his bones to grow correctly. About 3 weeks after his surgery, a kid punched him and dislodged the top bar, and he had to have another surgery to put the bar back in place. The kid has been through a lot. Well, the doctor cleared him for most activity last week. Just no skateboarding or bike riding, but he could now lift his backpack and go hang out with friends and play pickup. No contact sports. Unbeknownst to me, a kid in his class had been bullying him all semester, and because my son was afraid of getting hit again, he just took it. Well, the evening he was cleared, he came to me and said, "Dad, I'm cleared now. A kid has been bullying me and hitting me for months. Can I kick his butt?" Well, my son isn't really a fighter. He's fought with his brothers, but never anyone else, and he's always gotten his butt kicked. So I just figured he was just talking. But this is the first I had heard about the bullying, and I was concerned. I could tell he was distressed about the situation, so I told him to knock the sucker out. He just nodded and went to his room. Now, his older brother is a tough SOB. He had a traumatic brain injury 2 years ago, and he missed a year of school, so he's in the same grade and coincidentally takes the same class. I talked to him about it and told him to handle it but don't get in trouble. He told me that the kid walks in every day and punches my son in the head. I asked him why he allowed that to happen, and he said he wanted his brother to get tough, and once he was tired of getting hit, he would do something about it. While I kinda agree with his thinking, I instructed him to handle it without getting in trouble. The next morning, I took them both to school, then drove back home to get my younger daughter, who goes to a different school that starts later. On the way to take her to school, my wife calls me. "Have you taken your daughter to school yet? Well, after you do, go pick up your son. He got in a fight." I just assumed it was my oldest son. Imagine my surprise when I walked into the school office and see my younger son with a grin from ear to ear. He was beaming. He pointed to another kid sitting in a chair holding an ice pack on his face. I warned him. I was so proud. He had walked into class, sat down, and the kid popped him in the head like always. My older son got up to intervene, and before he could, my son decked the kid with one punch. He said the kid was bawling on the floor and that it was the best day of his life. He got suspended for 3 days. Edit 1. The kid who punched my son in the chest was one of his friends. It wasn't malicious, just 2 boys clowning around. He was horrified that he had hurt my son. The bully punched my son in the head every day. Once he found out my son couldn't do anything about it, he just kept on. My son wasn't the only one he bullied either. Also, the bully's brother came to my son later and told him that he had warned him once my son could fight that he was going to get his butt kicked. Edit 2. My son has some social anxiety, and since the fight, he has made a lot of friends. He used to hate going to school, but now he's disappointed the school is out for the summer. Crazy. Okay, here's my unpopular opinion. I am completely in sync with this dad. Whatever you have to say that, yeah, violence doesn't solve anything or whatever, fine. But sometimes a bully just has to get punched in the face to quit. And I'm happy that this kid stood up for himself and decked his bully. That's a problem taken care of. If I would have been the kid's dad, I would have told him, hey, don't you become a bully now, but I'm proud of you and you did right and I'm not gonna punish you at all. He got suspended for 3 days. That's it. And besides, this is a life lesson. Stand up for yourself. Fantastic. And the bully also learned a lesson. Alright, so with that, let's move on to the last story. My friend Jenna moved into a nice new condo last month and I finally got a chance to check it out for the first time today. I ended up arriving before she got home from work, so she told me to let myself in with the spare key under the potted plant and make myself comfortable. I made myself a sandwich and was meandering around eating and checking out her swanky new place when the front door opened and a really large and unfamiliar man with a duffel bag came in. Dude was intimidating, and I'm a 4'11" woman, so I was immediately scared. He looked shocked to see me. I'm looking at his duffel bag and realizing that I surprised some piece of ass burglar. I panicked and threw my sandwich at his face and then locked myself in the bedroom. I'm shaking and he pounds on the door, yelling at me to get the F out. I start screaming at him to get the F out and that I'm calling the police. Total bluff because I didn't have my phone. He then yells back that he is calling the police on me. This gives me pause. At this point, I look around and realize the bedroom I'm in definitely appears to be of the male persuasion. I ask him through the door if he knows Jenna last name. He tells me yes, she is his next door neighbor. Well, apparently Jenna's neighbor also keeps a spare key under a potted plant. So today I effed up by letting myself into my friend's neighbor's place, smacking him in the face with his own sandwich and then screaming at him to get the F out of his house. Well, that's just a funny story. Next time, get your friend's apartment number or if there's a way to identify it, or I don't know. But that's an honest mistake. It is a funny story. If it would have been my place, I would have been shocked to see a woman in it and getting hit with a sandwich on the face. I would have been upset too, but I understand the mistake. Alright, well that's it for this video. I really hope you guys liked it and enjoyed the stories. If you did, go ahead and press like. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. And I'll see you guys on the next video.